everyone, and welcome back to the show. Today I'm thrilled to be sitting down with Bama, aka Christian Young, a man whose journey is proof that transformation is always within reach. Over 4 years into recovery, Bama has gone from feeling completely lost to building a healthy, grounded, and deeply meaningful life. What started as simply trying to stay sober turned into a powerful path of growth, healing, and self-discovery. These days, Bama is all about staying present, cultivating gratitude, and helping others see that no matter where you start, change is possible. Whether you're in recovery, seeking purpose, or just looking for real talk on personal growth, this conversation is right for you. Bama, thanks for being here. Let's dive in. Well, Bama, I appreciate you meeting with me this morning.
Yeah, thanks for having me, man.
So I got to be honest with you. Is Bama your real name?
No, it's not.
Okay, so maybe you could start there. Like,
Yep.
introduce yourself. A little bit about yourself and maybe why you got that nickname.
Yeah,
Right? Okay.
for sure. My legal name is Christian. I'm an alcoholic.
I actually knew that.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. Okay. All right,
Lot of
carry on.
people
Sorry.
didn't know.
Now you say it, I did.
I got the nickname Bama from part of my story is during my alcoholism, during my use, I did a lot of moving around, did a lot of geographicals where I was running from problems, or trying to run from my problems and realizing that in reality I'm my problem. The things around me aren't the
Right.
problem. It's it's my alcoholism and whatnot. So I had just to start from the beginning. So my sober date is April 21st, or not April 21st. Sorry, April 3rd. I don't know why I had the 21st stuck in my head. April 3rd, 2021.
Okay. So you just celebrated 4 years.
4 years.
Oh,
Yep.
congratulations.
4 years. Thank you. That's probably where the 21 came from. So, growing up, my family was kind of somewhat broken up. We did a lot of moving around. My mom and dad were constantly together, separated, married to other people. And when that would happen, we would, of course, mom would move us around to try to get us into a better situation and whatnot. And so, as I got older, I always took that as, oh, well, if I move, my life's going to get better. So, I had graduated high school, and that's where my drinking kind of started, was finally having that little first taste of freedom. And so I moved out of the house. A few months later, I moved back home because things aren't going that great.
Sure.
Things still not going all that great at home, so I decided, I'm going to move back to my hometown. Again, things not going so great, so I had this great idea of, I've always thought about joining the military, so I'm going to join the Navy. That's where my drinking really took off. Being in the military, the brotherhood, the camaraderie and whatnot. Of course, drinking is a big thing in the military.
Yeah, you're not the first person that's come on here and said that to
Right,
me. So,
yeah. So, joining the military, I went through basic training for the Navy over in Great Lakes, Illinois. And then my A school was stationed in Pensacola, Florida.
Okay. Know where that's at.
Yep. So I ended up getting medically discharged from the Navy for 2 bad knees and a bad back. Was doing a training run and blew up my knees. And I thought my life was just crumbling. Everything that I had ever thought of or dreamed of or was trying to work towards kind of seemed to crumble. And it was one of those, I was trying really hard to do certain things and it wasn't working out.
Sure.
It was, that at that point, that was my higher power showing me, hey, you take your will. Well, this is what's going to happen. Me not even knowing it at the time. So I had two options. I could go back home, or I could stay down south. I had a girlfriend in Alabama,
Okay.
so I moved to Alabama, and that's where everything really, really took off. I'd been an alcoholic for a few years at that point, but then I started getting mixed into the wrong crowds. Started mixing in to getting into drugs and stuff like that. And got married to I broke up with my first girlfriend down there. Decided it was a good idea to move back home for a few months, and then move back to Alabama because, again, life wasn't that great at home.
Right.
So I moved back to Alabama, got a new girlfriend, got married. 7 months into the marriage, I'm back home at mom's and getting a divorce. So just constant geographicals.
Yeah.
And that's how I got the nickname Bama. My first job when I moved back home that last time, my manager was like, I'm not going to remember your name, so I'm just going to call you Bama. And it's kind of stuck since.
Yeah.
But, so I moved back home, lived at home for a couple of years, and I had slowed down on my alcohol use, and I thought I had it under control.
Sure.
That delusion.
Yeah. Yeah.
Of, oh yeah, I've got this, no big deal. And then it slowly started gaining traction again. I started drinking more and more and more. I was hiding it. A lot of my family, I come from a family of alcoholics and addicts.
Sure.
So it was one of those things of, they were okay with me drinking, but if I was heavily drinking, then something would get said about it.
Sure.
So I started hiding it. I started keeping stuff in the closet or, in a mini fridge in the room, and make it to where I could still have all my alcohol that I wanted. They just wouldn't know about it.
Sure.
And so,
I always find it interesting, like when the rest of your family partakes,
right.
and people are still like quick to call you out for your
Oh,
drinking.
yeah.
Like even though everyone else is
Right.
like probably,
Oh, yeah.
borderline might have an issue too.
Right,
But
right.
it's just interesting to me.
Oh, yeah. Well, like the one that always killed me was my dad and my uncle. Before I went off to basic training for the Navy,
Yeah.
they threw me a going away party. And a couple hours into the night, I was blacked out. I didn't remember 3/4 of the night, and I came back around towards the end of the night and, go to bed, wake up the next day.
Yeah.
And, later on that day. And, that was the first thing was, oh, man, you drank so much last night. What were you thinking? I'm like, you guys were giving me drinks left and right.
You
Like,
literally did this to me.
Right. I mean, I could have said no, but young alcoholic, what am I going to do?
Right.
I'm going to just take everything I can get.
Right.
So, yeah, it was one of those things, I always tried to hide it as much as I could.
What did that look like for you? Like, was it everyday drinker? Was it like?
Oh yeah, every day.
Yeah.
Every day. A lot of times it was, I couldn't even go through the entire day without having something.
Sure. Yeah.
The place where I was working at a Big Tex Trailers, and there was a couple of fast food restaurants and liquor stores down the strip, away from where I was working. And so there was me and actually a couple of other guys that we would, on our lunch break, we would stop at Taco Bell, and then we would go across the street to the liquor store and grab a tall boy so that we could have, our lunch beer,
Sure.
like, oh yeah, we're just, we're relaxing,
Just
it's
chilling.
a good time. Yeah, we're just chilling. When in reality, we're alcoholics, and it's like we can't go without drinking. Which
Sure.
that was the thing, is I couldn't go without it.
Right.
I had to have it.
Right.
So for for me, for what actually got me to where I finally said enough was enough and had to make a change, I was at a friend's birthday party, and we'd been drinking all night, and I saw two of my best friends getting into a physical fight in their front yard. And it's like 2 o'clock in the morning. They're screaming, they're yelling, they're swinging at each other. And it was like somebody flipped a switch. The light bulb finally kicked in. And it was like, I am on that path.
Sure.
If I don't change what I'm doing or change something about myself, that's where I'm going to end up. And in that moment, I saw all the fights between my family, whether it was my mom and my dad, my grandparents and my parents, whoever. Through my childhood, I saw all of it rushing in. I was like, it's alcohol. It's all been alcohol. And it was at that point I realized that I needed to be sober. So the first 5 months of my sobriety, I had no idea what AA even was. Sure. I didn't know what recovery was. I didn't know what sobriety really even meant. It was just, I wanted to be sober. And then I met my wife, Jamie. She's been on here.
Yeah, shout out Jamie.
Hey, babe. But, I met her and I heard her story. And I'd heard a couple other people's stories. And I realized what I needed. I needed recovery. So I pulled another geographical with a plan in mind, of course.
You weren't just winging it this time?
Right, well, kind of, but not completely.
Yeah, good intentions.
Good intentions, right. So I was, her and I started talking, and she flew out to Idaho. And the first time we met, I picked her up at the airport in Idaho, and we drove back to Falls, Wisconsin. And I've been here ever since. It's insane and crazy.
Yeah.
But amazing at the same time, because it was exactly what I needed. I needed the geographical as far as getting to a healthy place.
Sure.
Now, of course, I did everything that they say not to do in your first year of recovery. And thankfully it worked out.
Yeah.
I don't recommend it to any of the guys, that I sponsor or anything like that. I'm like, hey, don't do what I did.
Right.
I was not smart about this, but it's worked out, and I've stayed sober, and I'm so grateful for it.
Yeah.
And so thankful for it.
Yeah. What do you attribute, to, I mean, obviously you made that geographical change, but, what do you attribute to your success? Because I think that there's a difference between, wanting to be sober.
Right.
And actually, getting into recovery, right? And so, how can you just talk about the things that kind of came up, or you felt were pivotal moments on that journey? Obviously, moving was part of that, but
just surrounding myself with people in recovery.
Sure.
The first job I had here, I worked for somebody that's been in the recovery community for decades, and it spent a lot of time. They ran sober houses here in the community, and so I stayed. I more or less I stayed really connected to the recovery community by just sticking around the sober house, working with people that were in recovery, hanging out with people that were in recovery. So just surrounding myself with recovery, in a sense. And then my first 18 months of sobriety, I didn't actually have a sponsor. And when I finally got a sponsor and actually started working the program and working the steps and seeing how much better life could be with recovery and actually working the steps of recovery, not just doing what I like to call the 1, 2, 3 shuffle.
Sure.
I admit I have a problem. Yes, I'm insane. Here's my will.
Right.
But not actually following through with all the other steps and actually working towards that goal of, hitting step 12.
Yeah.
So I got a sponsor and started actually working the steps, and within a few months I had gotten through 4, 5, 6, 7, and
Yeah.
I was actually getting into my mins. I was actually working the program, working that fourth step. Oh my God, that was a huge, just spiritual experience for me of
Yeah.
that weight lifted.
Yeah.
Finally actually getting rid of everything that I had been holding on to and holding in for so many years, and letting somebody else have it,
Yeah.
letting God have it. And it just, it, I always, when I sit down with somebody new in sobriety, I always tell them the faster we can get you to that step, the better. Because it's going to be so freeing. There's going to be this huge weight that's just lifted off your shoulders because of the fact of you're finally letting go of all of this.
Yeah.
You're not holding on to it anymore. And that's my biggest thing is with sponsoring guys, and that's my way of giving back to the community, trying to give as much as I can give that I've received.
Yeah.
The gifts and everything that I've received in recovery from my sponsors, from meetings, from people around me in the recovery community, just the fellowship and everything else that's came with it has changed my life for the better, and has made things so much better for me for just in life in general. I'm able to walk around without staring over my shoulder, looking over my shoulder, seeing if there's somebody that I might run into that I don't want to run into.
Sure.
Being able to just live life, and give back to the others and help the still suffering alcoholic. It's been amazing. Really, truly has been amazing.
Yeah, I mean, I can definitely relate to like that experience, right, of working through the steps, because I was one of those people that just kind of pick and chose what I was willing to do.
Right.
And, and I feel like I personally work the program of AA. I know not everybody who watches does that, and I feel like personally, I just encourage people to get connected into some sort of community, whatever that looks like for them.
Right.
But personally, I have tried other things, and this is just what works for me.
Right.
So I guess my question is what would you say to someone who is resistant to that? I think, we have both kind of seen the gifts that AA or the 12 steps in general can provide. Like, what would you say to maybe somebody who is open to recovery but maybe resistant to the 12 steps?
Right. I was resistant with the 12 steps at first, so I guess the best thing that I could say is you really don't experience recovery and sobriety in full until you work those steps. As daunting as they may seem, once you start working them, and work them with a sponsor, always working with a sponsor. And sponsorship in itself is just sitting down with another alcoholic or addict and working through the steps. So you don't even really have to put that label on it if you don't want to. But just the gifts and everything that come with sobriety and AA and recovery with working the 12 steps, give it a shot. Try it. You don't know until you actually do it. And then once you do it, you'll be so grateful because of the fact of just the promises that come true with working the 12 steps. Where I'm at today in my life in general, I wouldn't be here without AA, without the 12 steps. I wouldn't have the job or the marriage or the relationships that I have. I wouldn't be somewhere where I actually feel safe and secure in so many different ways. And I think that's a big thing. The biggest thing for me with recovery is just what it's done for me, not just for my life, but the life of those around me. I'm able to have a relationship with my mom that's not toxic and chaotic.
Yeah.
I'm able to go to work and be happy and not be hungover from the night before, or still drunk because I had to take a couple shots that morning to get myself together and get to work. Right?
Sounds terrible.
Life is just, it's amazing and
Yeah.
it's great in AA and recovery. And something that I hear from some of the old timers of like, this is a lifetime commitment. And it's like, okay, I could do this for life.
Yeah.
This is, what it's provided for me in just the last 4 years. 4 short years. I mean,
Yeah.
4 years flies by.
Yeah.
And where I'm at now, I'm coming up on really healthy, successful 2 years of marriage.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which is crazy.
Yeah.
It feels like we just got married, yesterday.
Talk a little bit about that and how, because I know for myself, I feel like through this like work on myself that I'm able to show up in a better way as a husband.
Oh yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about how you feel like this program is able to or impacts your relationship?
Definitely, yeah. So my wife is also an alcoholic. She's been sober for a little over 7 years now. She celebrated 7 years back in February. The biggest thing I think is for both of us is with working our separate programs, we're able to see where our character defects and whatnot fall into play and be able to actually work on ourselves to be better for the other. AA has opened my eyes to other things as far as like codependency.
Sure.
I was such a codependent people pleaser. I would do anything to make anyone happy. I would sacrifice my own happiness, which does nobody any good. For me, for a healthy relationship is both sides have to be happy to make the other happy.
Sure.
And it's not even so much that you have to make the other person happy. If you are both happy as it is already, it happens naturally and organic. And AA and recovery has done that for me, of where I've been able to put in the work on myself and define my character defects, figure out what I need to do to work on those, and make it to where I can be the best version of myself today. And that puts me in a spot where I can be a better husband, a better friend, a better son. It attributes to all my relationships. It also helps that my wife, with the work that she does, she works with people that are in institutions and jails and whatnot, and helps them with their mental health and substance abuse. And so both of us knowing, both of us working our programs and both of us seeing the other side of things, and we've both been through some bad relationships. So being able to take our experience, our strength, and our hope from everything that we've gone through, everything before sobriety, during sobriety, and just make the best of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And being in a spot where if we do get into an argument or something like that, we have the ability to actually stop and think about it and communicate. Communication is key.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
So, and us both having been through codependent relationships and whatnot, and having that experience of working on ourselves and not, codependent tendencies are going to pop up every now and then,
Yeah.
of course. But being able to just stop and actually think.
Sure.
And go through things with just a clear state of mind.
Yeah.
Being able to stop and set our emotions aside and actually think things through, or even if the emotions are there, being able to say, hey, can we stop and talk about this in a little bit when, we're in a better spot, as far as mental state wise.
Yeah, yeah. So I kind of want to end with, well, first of all, what would you say to someone who is feeling really lost or hopeless in this moment? And then I just want to give you the opportunity to kind of give your final thought.
Yeah. If you're lost or hopeless or just not knowing where to go, go to a meeting.
Yeah,
Find some fellowship.
yeah,
The biggest thing with recovery in general is when you go to a meeting, they welcome you with open arms. There's always somebody there that will give you a hug and say, "Hey, thank you for being here. It's awesome that you're here."
yeah,
Those 24-hour coins that first time in a day, the first step meetings, just so powerful and so amazing, and it shows the support and everything that's there for you. So yeah, find a meeting. You can look them up online if you know somebody that's in AA or NA or any of the 12-step programs. Just find a meeting. Get to a meeting and find that support and that fellowship. And it'll just open your eyes to what's there and get you on the right track. And then I guess in closing, just super grateful for this opportunity. Super grateful to be here. Seeing you and your journey has been awesome, and to see you doing this, and promoting recovery and sobriety and everything, and being able to be a part of it. Being a part of the recovery community in River Falls is just absolutely amazing. It gives me goosebumps. I got chills.
We got a good community, don't we?
Oh yeah, we have an awesome community. I love River Falls. I love the River Falls AA community, the sobriety community, recovery community, however you want to label it. It's just filled with so many good people.
Yeah, I'd second that.
You can't stop listing the names, of people
Yeah.
that pop up in your mind when you think of River Falls and recovery. And just super grateful. I wouldn't want to be anywhere else.
Yeah. It's good stuff, and I'm grateful to have you. And I always say, like, this, none of this is about me. It's always about, the people that are sharing, because I think that that's really what this is all about, is getting our message out there. And
Oh yeah.
anybody who's willing to record their life story and then blast it on the internet
Right.
just to help someone else,
Yep.
I think is pretty commendable. And so, for me, that's all it's about. And this sun is like,
Blinding.
I'm like squinting. I'm gonna have to. That's
It's all
awesome.
about that 12-step, man.
Yeah,
Honestly, that's where it for me, it's passing along the message to the still suffering alcoholic.
Yeah.
And having those spiritual experiences. That's the biggest thing.
And you never know, by sharing what you've been through and some of the risks that you've taken and all these things, you just never know who might be sitting there, like, who needed, you needed that little tidbit of information, like, oh, I'm just going to go for it today.
Yep.
This is going to be the day that I decide to make a step, in the right direction, or whatever that looks like, so.
For sure, yeah. And that's just to add to it. I always try to speak at the Kinnick Treatment Facility. There's a speaker meeting on Thursdays there. I think it's at
6:30.
6:30.
Yep.
That's another great place to go if you're lost, hopeless, not sure of what to do.
Yep.
There's so many different people that you can listen to that speak there. There's a speaker meeting on Saturdays at the River Falls Alamo Club.
Yep.
So, again, lost or hopeless or not sure where to start, where to begin, just hearing somebody else's strength.
You don't have to say nothing. You can just go in there and listen.
Yep. You can go in and listen and just find something that'll help you.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. It's good stuff. Well, I appreciate you meeting with me.